Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Arinix Mordani and my register number is A1M219027. And in here, me as the first speaker, I would like to explain about the definition of preference and the formula. Okay, we start from the definition of preference. Preference in English is an expression of choice or opinion that someone prefers about object, activities, people, or others. Preference can be expressed through several words, such as this word, would rather, would prefer, and like. Because it's identical to like it or not, preference is also synonym with choice. Preference is also an expression of feelings that cannot only be expressed by prefer or to, but can also be expressed in various other ways in roughly the same meaning, namely showing what is preferred. Okay, preference itself divided into two parts. The first is using comparators and without comparators. But in here, I would like to tell you preference in mentioned comparator. There are two kind, that is like and prefer. The first is like, and the formula that is like plus noun plus better than plus noun. The word like, which is used when you want to express what you like or want. Like is usually included with better than. Remember, like is usually included with better than. For example, I like pasta better than pizza. I like milk better than coffee. They like swimming better than running. And she likes cooking better than washing. Okay, back to the first example. I like pasta better than pizza. I as a subject plus like plus noun in here, that is pasta, plus better than in here we use better than in like, and plus noun, that is pizza. Okay, next, that is I like milk better than coffee. I as a subject plus like plus noun, that is milk, plus better than plus noun, that is coffee. Okay, next we move to the third example, that is they like swimming better than running. Okay, in here we use verb, so we can add ing. Remember, the verb compare here is added to ing. This has become a rule in this formula. Okay, they as a subject plus like plus noun, that is swimming, plus better than plus running. And the last, that is she likes cooking better than washing. She as a subject plus likes plus cooking plus better than plus washing. Okay, next, that is prefer, and the formula, that is prefer plus noun plus to plus noun. The word prefer is used in sentences to express preference or preference for something or preferring to do something. When we learning basic English, prefer can be defined as preferable to. Remember, that is prefer is usually labeled with to. Prefer is usually labeled with to. For example, I prefer pasta to pizza. I prefer novel to short story. We prefer singing to dancing, and they prefer cooking to washing. So we back to the first example. I prefer pasta to pizza. I as a subject plus prefer plus noun, that is pasta, plus to plus pizza. Remember that in prefer we use to. Next, that is I prefer novel to short story. I as a subject plus prefer plus noun, that is novel, plus to plus noun, that is short story. Okay, the next that is we prefer singing to dancing. In here we use verb as a noun, but we must add ing. Remember, the same as before, the verb is compare here is added to ing. This has become a rule in this formula. Maybe that's all about my explanation about preference in mentioning comparators, that is like and prefer. And I'm so sorry if I have a mistake in my explanation before. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Hasan Hussein. My registration number is A1M2190057. Here, I will explain about one of the formulas of preferences using comparator. Apart from using like and prefer, we also can use would rather for expressing a preference-shaped sentences that we want to express. The formulas used to would rather is would rather plus verb 1 plus than plus verb 1. Now, let's see what this formula means. Here, we can see that in order to use would rather when expressing preference sentences, we must use verb 1, such as read, speak, cook, and others. In other words, when we use verb 2 and verb 3, such as drunk, came, did, downloaded, and others, the sentence we express will be considered inaccurate. Why? That's because it doesn't comply with the provisions set out in the formula that I have previously mentioned before. Furthermore, besides the verbs, we also find the word than in the formula, which is a pair of would rather, which distinguishes this formula from other formulas. Therefore, when we pair would rather with the word to or better than, the preference sentence that we say or that we compile will become an inaccurate sentences. Why? Again, that's because the contents don't match the formula would rather plus verb 1 plus than plus verb 1. To understand better, let's look at an example of using this formula. 1. I would rather work than play. 2. He would rather come with us than go alone. In the first and second examples, it is clear that these sentences use verb 1 and the word than as a pairs of would rather and as a comparative signal. Avoid to use verb 2 and verb 3, like I would rather work than played, or he would rather came with us than went alone. Why? That's because the words went, came, and played are the verb 2 and verb 3, so they are not in accordance with the formula used. Also, don't use to or better than to be paired with would rather, like I would rather work to play, or he would rather come with us better than go alone. Why? Again, it is not in accordance with the formula. I think that's all about the explanation I can provide of using would rather with a comparison to express preference sentences. Don't forget to remember the pairs and the verbs used for sentences with this formula so that their usage is not confused with other formulas and their meanings remain appropriate. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Reski Arba. My registration number is A1M219-061. Now, I will explain about preferences using comparison. Make phrases bold prefer. Different from phrases like and prefer, the phrase bold prefer is used in a more specific situation. And then the formula of bold prefer is bold prefer plus to infinitive plus rather than plus infinitive. Example, he bold prefer to cook rather than wash dishes. The sentences is have to infinitive and rather than, so the sentence is correct. Now, I will give you two sentences and we can find the correct and incorrect sentences. The first sentence is decades would prefer to eat fish rather than eat bread. And the second sentence is I would prefer to eat bread rather than to eat fish. We can see the first sentence is a correct sentence because the formula is correct. But in the second sentence, the formula used is actually almost correct, but the error is because he added to in the second infinitive. If he doesn't have added to in a second infinitive, the sentence is correct. So the key, we must always remember the formula. Okay, I think enough for me. Morales, I'm sorry. And Nicholas will say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Salina and my register number A1M219063. Well, this time I will continue to explain preference. But this time I will explain the form of preference without using a comparator. As my friend explained before, preference in English is an expression of choice or opinion that someone like about an object, activity, person, or other person. Now, every time we make a choice, of course, we will be faced with several other choices. But this time, I will explain the form of preference without comparison, or it can be said that we prefer one thing only. These prefers are prefer plus to verb 1 or to infinity. The use of prefer plus to verb 1 is very different from the use of prefer in English in the form of noun to noun and verb in to verb in, etc. The difference is that the use of prefer in the English form to infinity or verb 1 states that you prefer only one thing. Here is an example of using prefer in the English to plus verb 1 form. 1. He prefers to bake cake. 2. The man prefers to practice. 3. He prefers to dance. 4. I prefer to write poetry. 5. He prefers to play the violin. 6. We prefer to wait for you here. 7. He prefers to wait here. And last 8. We prefer to go to Europe. It can be seen in the example that all use prefer plus to verb 1. In the first sentence, he prefers to bake a cake. In this sentence, he as a subject is added with prefer plus to follow and is followed by the first form verb or verb 1 and ends with the object which is cake. In the second sentence, the person prefers to practice. In the sentence, the person who acts as the subject is approved by prefer plus to, then follow the first form verb or verb 1. namely practice. In the third sentence, he prefers to dance. He is a subject, then it is used with prefers plus to, and then ends the verb form, namely dance. In the fourth sentence, I prefer to write poetry. I, the subject, then use the prefers plus to, then the word write is the form verb or verb 1 and ends with object, which is poetry. In the fifth sentence, he prefers to play the violin. He here as a subject is first used with prefers plus to, first use, then play as a form verb or verb 1, then ends with object which is violin. And just go to the last sentence, which is we prefer to go to Europe. We are here as a subject. In prefer plus to, then follow go as a verb in the first form or verb 1. I think enough for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hilal Afri Prayoga and I will continue the explanation about preference without comparator. Rumus yang akan saya jelaskan yaitu prefer plus noun. Tetapi sebelum itu kita harus memperhatikan pasangan dari prefer dalam rumus ini. Karena ketika pasangan dari prefer itu salah, maka kalimat yang kita buat akan dinilai kurang tepat. Di sini pasangan dari prefer ini adalah noun, sehingga ketika kita menggunakan verb to, maka sudah pasti kalimat kita dinilai kurang tepat karena tidak sesuai dengan rumus. Okay, prefer plus noun is one of the formulas of prefer that does not use comparators. What should be noted from prefer plus noun is the noun itself. Try to distinguish which verb is noun. Do not let when we compose it that we want to make prefer plus noun, instead we make prefer plus verb. Example, I prefer swimming. He prefer to singing. Dari contoh ini terlihat jelas bahwa ada noun setelah prefer, yaitu contoh pertama nounnya adalah swimming dan di contoh kedua nounnya adalah singing. Yang dimaksud jangan mendapatkan verb to itu misalnya swimming diganti menjadi swam, karena swam merupakan verb to dan itu tidak sesuai dengan rumus. Begitu pula halnya dengan singing, tidak boleh diganti dengan sing karena sing merupakan verb to. Demikianlah penjelasan tentang preference plus noun yang tidak menggunakan kata pembanding. Akhir kata saya ucapkan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Agnia Sri Widya Stuti and my register number is A1M219023. So here I will continue the material about preferences, especially preferences without following the comparator. First is would prefer. So would prefer in contrast to the press like and river. So the press would prefer is used in more specific situation because here I discuss about preference without following the comparator. So would prefer has a function to state what we prefer without comparing to specific things. Of course, just like any other preference phrase, there are sentence pattern that must be followed, namely subject plus would prefer plus to verb 1. For example, Andy would prefer to phone me. She would prefer to cry alone, and I would prefer to eat spicy food. Next is would rather. Would rather has the meaning of preferring an activity, not objects, without comparing two specific things. Would rather is always followed by the bare infinitive, which is the infinitive form without to. Would rather be used to state something that is more preferable than the others. So the pattern that must be followed, namely subject plus would rather plus verb 1. For example, I would rather drink tea, Icha would rather choose her mom, and I would rather sing in the bathroom. That's enough from me. Thanks for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.